from Athens, Greece. My name is Andreas Moutsios-Rentzos, and today we'll be talking about the primary school teachers' views and practices in the hybrid classroom in Greece, and a little bit investigation about teaching language and mathematics. This is a follow-up study from a theoretical paper that is in the proceedings that Liz just mentioned. So the problematic, the rationale for this study was based that the recent pandemic has legitimized the use of digital, hybrid, and synchronous means of teaching and learning. Even in Greece, now when there's emergency remote teaching can be employed whenever it's necessary, and it is considered equivalent to teach in the physical class. I also included a kind of French version to help the colleagues. Hope it works for you. And so, in this paper, we consider that the educational systems tend to take for granted that you can move back and forth from the digital and the analog learning environment. This implies that this space, this learning environment, has some kind of continuity, teaching and learning continuity. But we think that this is more like an axiomatic position rather than a scientific evidence backed up view. So we try to investigate this, and we focus on in-service primary school teachers in Greece in order to identify whether they are aware that there's some movement across the analog and the physical learning space, and do they experience different levels of teaching self-efficacy or autonomy, and whether in general their teaching is affected by the affordances of the learning space itself. So we are interested in the primary school because in the primary school there's a steep socio-developmental change that occurs across the grades, and it is argued that this radically alters the learners and the teachers' relationship with the physical and the social world. So the argument is that the characteristic of this space-time affect the way that the various notions are constructed, at least initially, that they're affected by and bounded to the physical and sociocultural characteristics of this environment. So we draw upon a very well-known theory of the Febvre, and we view the space of the educational school unit or class space as emerging at the interaction of the design space, the space that is bounded to the materiality of the space, and the constructed space as defined by the user's functions. And within this space, we have both organized functions and spontaneous functions. And especially the latter is very important with respect to teaching and learning. And in specific about mathematics, there's the notions that we construct are interwoven with the social, pedagogical, and socio-mathematical norms, and within which all the interactions occur. So the laws of physics that rule this space-time are crucial to the construction of mathematical objects. There's a wide body of research discussing the ways that the perceptual and the bodily experience that we have with the world and educational materials determine the qualities of the mathematical concepts that we construct. And in specific, we construct within a spatio-temporal environment a temporal and a spatial objects as mathematical objects are. So this is more about the theoretical rationale. I won't delve into that. It's more expanding on the paper that's in the proceedings from previous EUTIC. And So in this paper, we are interested in the ways that the primary school teachers experience this space and its links with their everyday practice with respect to the language and mathematics. And so for this paper, I'm focusing on 3 primary school teachers, like multiple case studies. We have semi-structured video recorded interviews, and this was the data were analyzed with the help of Atlas TI through a phenomenological analysis. And also this is part of a larger project in which there are also focus groups and follow-up interviews. But today I'm only discussing this first set of interviews. So there was questions about distant teaching and synchronous and asynchronous, including emergency remote teaching. There were also comparisons with in-person teachings. There was a reflection about the teaching practices and whether the way discussion happens, the use of whiteboard desks, so various elements of the teaching and learning environment with a special interest of the space that the physical and the digital class include. And the teachers were different levels of experience, 3 years, 9 years, and 19 years. And also I was particularly interested in the mathematics education training. This is a very big issue with primary school teachers in Greece and the way they feel about their being confident about teaching mathematics. So I focused in highly trained mathematically educated primary school teachers, 2 PhD candidates, and one also with master's in education technology, focused on mathematics education. ME is mathematics education. And they were asked how they identify themselves with respect of being good at mathematics and teaching mathematics. And all of them identify themselves and the image that they have through colleagues, principals, parents, and students are high, is very, very high. And the same about distance learning and the use of ICT. One of them was well-trained and 2 were not. Now, about the teaching practices in the physical class, all of them built upon the experience and the contributions of the students. They did both small groups and individual work. They tried to have the whole group to participate in the teaching. They focused on discussion, on argumentation. They all used homework and they all used ICT in class. More of them, they converged in the way that they would like in the teaching practices in both language and mathematics. But when we were talking about the synchronous digital class, there appear to be various differences, and their perception depended on whether they felt that the digital class may serve their intentionalities or their teaching vision, as someone would say, and this was related to their ease of using the technological means. For example, they said distant teaching can never replace in-person teaching. I cannot see distant teaching to be at the same level. The platforms cannot do that, maybe many, many years later. Whereas another teacher said it can be done. We need much more technology, distant teaching to do the same, etc. And also all of them used the breakout function of WebEx. They use WebEx to try to simulate the small group and the whole group teaching. And whereas in the asynchronous digital class, there appear to be no fractures. There will be a coherence, because for them, the physical class was dealt as preparing homework. So for them, it was like preparing something for the students to have at home. So for them, the asynchronous digital class was exactly the same, equivalent with preparing homework. So in the space of the physical class, they choose specific collective constructions to obtain spatiotemporal permanence, in the sense that specific things that happened during teaching remained in the class, like a construction or a picture or diagram or whatever, and after the specific teaching, because some things are useful to be on the wall so that students may use them when needed. Also, the physical class had a dedicated space for each course, for each discipline, for mathematics, for language, for whatever. So there's a specific part, for example, of wall that is about mathematics. Also, all of them said no irrelevant spatio-temporal presence is allowed. For example, they didn't think of having art pieces or something else because there's no reason for something to be in the class unless if it is for teaching. It is not for your personal space. That is very interesting. Whereas in the digital class, in the synchronous environment, like the one that I have here, they wouldn't have this bookshelf here. They would have an empty background. All of them chose in purpose to have a blank, an empty background. In effort to obtain boundaries in the digital class and to try to control the common space, the public space, and the private space, for example, the parents, they encourage the use of headphones, so the sound will be only for those who were involved in the class, so for the students and themselves. Whereas in the asynchronous digital class, it was similar to homework in the physical class, and also that was a difference with the synchronous teaching. They try to have the same aesthetics of space like the sheets, the worksheets they give from homework. They use colors, different fonts, shapes, and they may have avatars in the e-class they use. So it was a different, this static mode of teaching was different to the synchronous dynamic of the digital class. So in conclusion, they seem to have an awareness that there was a digital part and a physical part in the hybrid teaching and learning space. Also, there seem to be three distinct lived realities. One is like mathematics teaching and language teaching cannot occur in the synchronous hybrid space for diverse reasons. The second perspective, reality, the hybrid space may be engineered to fit some of the requirements of the teaching and learning mathematics and language, somehow like a partial acceptance. And the third is that the hybrid space may be engineered to fit the requirements of the teaching and learning of mathematics and language. So we have three diverse realities, intentional relationships with this hybrid space. And also in specific, for example, they thought that the working in groups in the physical class is the same, all of them, as in breakouts, because they didn't consciously or unconsciously realize the different characteristics that this communication space has. For example, if we have a breakout room, or like me now, you only have what the camera shows you. You cannot have an overview. Or if you have breakout session with small groups in parallels, the teacher cannot be simultaneously in all 3 or 4 of them. Also, there's no between group interaction, depending on the platform, but I'm talking about Zoom right now. And the same is in WebEx. Also, considering the boundaries and openings, in the physical space, we have the windows, the doors, we have the walls. They try to create, except for the visual, the camera walls, also the technological sound walls, like using headphones. At the same time, they haven't realized that the space for spontaneous functions, like, for example, you might be talking to your next person right now, it's not that easy or forbidden, for example, in a digital class, depending on the digital class, of course. And another important thing, as we said, is the coherence of the asynchronous hybrid space. They consider the same when we're talking about asynchronous teaching and learning interactions. In specific about mathematics, because as I said, they were highly trained in mathematics education, in-service teachers, they all intended to teach mathematics in a specific acceptable as research, the accepted way, as I may say. But their positioning with respect to technology affected the way they felt about the synchronous teaching. So, which means the one that was more familiar and had some more ease with the technology were more eager to say that we can engineer it to fit what we would like to do. So this is part of an ongoing project. As I said, we have follow-up interviews, and this is the comparative teaching of language with the same teachers, and we keep on doing that. And thank you for your time and your attention.
Je peux se mettre à côté, sinon je pense que tu peux partir. Tu vois? Oui, oui.
Thank you very much. Qu'est-ce que tu veux voir?
Est-ce qu'on peut voir,
Could you stop the sharing of the screen?
Yes, of course. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Do you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. So we are going to ask some few questions. I if I can, I have one first question about you talk about phenomenological analysis.
Yes.
Could you explain a little more about what you intend in phenomenological analysis?
Oh, okay. So drawing upon, for example, Husserlian ideas, so the idea is not just to have a thematic analysis, like the themes are common, but the purpose is to identify the relationship of what is described and by whom is described. So to also have the viewing of the phenomenon and the viewer. And by that, if you have that relationship identified, you have a closer perspective of the phenomenon itself. So the purpose is to focus on the phenomenon rather than on the person who experiences the phenomenon.
Okay, and how do you observe the phenomenon?
You cannot observe the phenomenon itself, but what you're trying to say, not this is what is said and it is common. So if someone says, I don't like mathematics, it's not the same for everybody. Depends who says that, and it's his or her relationship to mathematics. So you take that within the analysis and as an extra code, let's say.
Okay.
So you have the relationship for the one who gives you the data and the data themselves. That's one of the differences. Oh, but there are in detail descriptions, for example, by various researchers. One usual reference is Moustakas in the literature. Yeah, I don't know if it's.
Thank you. I think Isabelle.
Question dans la salle. Tu veux ta question aussi? Oui, tu sais pas très. Thanks, Andreas. Do you learn me? Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Ah, good. Could you explain the notion of hybridity?
Oh, sorry.
Hybrid.
Oh, okay. Yes. It's in the literature you can find either as hybrid learning environment or blended learning environment. So it's mixte, I think, in French. Sorry, but sorry. So we were talking about right now, for example, this is a hybrid conference environment because you have interactions in the physical space. We also have interaction in the digital space. I'm on my own here on another physical space. So all of it, this space, this physical space, your physical space, and the digital is the hybrid thing.
Yes, thanks. It's good.
Thank you very much. Isabelle, I had a small question. Is there, according to you, a specificity about mathematics and language learning? Why did you choose this?
Yes. Okay. Well, first, mathematics, because it's my my discipline. I'm a mathematics educator, and I'm interested in mathematics education research. That's one thing. The second thing is that the teachers spend around 2/3 of their lives teaching language and mathematics. And this is important for them. Second, is important for the government and the society. And is important, especially for mathematics and language, and for other disciplines as well. I'm not saying other disciplines are less important. I'm saying that these, for me, are very important for the teachers and the students. They spend 2/3 of their time doing this. So it is important to identify. I could just focus on mathematics, but I think I would learn more about mathematics if I, at the same time, investigate language, which is the dominant part of the teaching and learning life in primary school.
Thank you very much. Thank you.